Hey everyone, and welcome to the Open Minds podcast, where we try to open each other to different perspectives and remain open-minded to all incoming thoughts and opinions. I'm Niral.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Cole.
And we're high school seniors from outside Philadelphia. While listening, we hope you guys keep an open mind with us.
In a world that's too closed-minded, we're here to help you open yours, 'cause we're the Open Minds.
So you guys know what I've been doing recently? Well, not recently, but kind of a challenge I took up this weekend. I did no social media.
Wow, that's incredibly impressive. Can you elaborate kind of what prompted that decision?
Yeah, we were just, as a school, we were having a conversation with another school, like just some Zoom meeting that was set up for some particular reason, I don't really know. But we met these kids, and basically we kind of got into the topic of the conversation of like, what's the biggest issues with our generation? Like, what do we face that other generations don't face? And I kind of think that's mental challenges, and I think that's caused by our phones. Because like I feel like we're kind of addicted to our phones, and so since we have so much anxiety and depression, those are symptoms of withdrawal. So I feel like the addiction of our phones have caused those symptoms, because when we're away from our phones, we experience withdrawal. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I remember hearing something like, something is a drug when if you step away from it, and the only cure to like the problems you get from that is going back to it. That's how a drug is defined. I think what you're saying there about withdrawal symptoms from a phone is very applicable to that kind of scenario.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I like how you put it that way too, because it kind of shows how it is a loop. Like it's literally nonstop stimulus from the phones. So basically I go on my phone and then I go off of it, and then you start feeling anxious or depressed or whatever the effects are on you specifically, and then the only way to fix it is to go on the phone.
Yeah, and I think it's very similar to, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, when you're hungry and you check the fridge, then you check the cabinet, and then you check the fridge again, like hoping something new appears. Like it's very much like once you like scroll Instagram for long enough, and then you like go back to Instagram, it's like, what is on there that is new? Yeah. Absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah, it's just like that. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is literally the worst feeling in the world, is opening Instagram and being like, wow, this is really boring, closing it, and then immediately forgetting what just happened in the last 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then your brain thinks, oh my God, it's Instagram, let's open it up. And you open it up, and suddenly you're just met with disappointment, because your brain realized, oh shit, I was just on this app like 10 seconds ago, and for some reason I was prompted to open it again.
So were you literally off every single thing besides like iMessage? Like, is that kind of what you did?
Yeah, so I deleted Instagram, I deleted Snapchat, TikTok, and Twitter. Twitter, I didn't delete at first because I don't really use it, but I found myself using it a little more than usual. I only used it once, but that's more than usual for me. I don't use Twitter. And then I was like, shit, I can't use this as an escape because I don't have the other apps right now. So I deleted that as well. And I'd say overall, I've definitely been more bored, but I've been more productive because of that. Like a lot of times I'm like, shoot, what do I do now? Like just sitting around. Normally I just go on Instagram or TikTok. But because I didn't have it, I was actually able to do productive things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like my day was actually like kind of more valuable. Like, I feel like I actually did things, and I was actually, like, focused in on things. Like, we went to dinner with my family in New Jersey on Sunday, and I feel like I was, like, fully present, you know? Like, on the car ride there, I didn't really use my phone. On the car ride home, I didn't use my phone. And there, I didn't use my phone that much. I felt like I was really present. Like, it feels like a more true memory to me than if I was on my phone.
You went to New Jersey?
I did.
The middle of a panda.
I did go to
a Polar Express. Absolutely ridiculous.
In the middle of a pandemic, I did go to New Jersey.
Just jokes. Safe travels.
Yeah, well, things are opening up now. Yeah. I had COVID last week, so I'm good.
It was a light little joke there.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk like, so you felt like more present with your family and stuff? Like, did people around you on social media change that perception at all? Like when you saw people like on like Snapchat and Instagram and stuff like that, or like people said, oh, like did anybody say like, oh, look what I sent you on X platform? Like, did you check X platform or something like that?
Yeah, multiple times people were like, check Snapchat, like see what I just sent you, like in the middle of us texting. Or I assume people were sending me on TikTok and Instagram, So I did feel out of touch in that perspective, which kind of did stink, but it kind of comes with some pros as well as the cons. The biggest con was that I felt out of touch. Like, I get all the news about what I care about from Instagram, like all film news. Like Christopher Nolan has a new movie, like the new Spider-Man episode is called No Way Home. Like I get all of that from Instagram. So not having that, like I feel very much in the dark with movie stuff and stuff I care about. So
Yeah, like that. I feel like that'd be so similar to me because I'm just so like politically oriented, and like Twitter has simply become like it is a never ending loop of news. Really, like it's so crazy because it's a platform where you can connect with your mother, your cousin, the president, the pope, and like Jessica Alba. Like it's just like such like a multi-level platform, and like because of way the algorithm works, you kind of like orient it to whatever you like. So that is just my never-ending feed of news from everybody I care about.
Yeah. And Niral, you don't have Instagram, Twitter. You only have Snapchat.
Yes, and that was recently. That was like a year or two ago.
So what is your world like not having any of those?
Yeah, I don't know. I understand what you're saying, that you get into that loop of scrolling Instagram, whatever. Never felt it, never experienced it. I don't know. Like, I don't feel more productive than any of you may be, but like what you're saying, and I assume I might be, but I doubt it, because I feel like I waste a lot of time anyway, just doing random stuff, like just sitting there or like anything.
So what does wasting time look like for you?
Like, I wouldn't say wasting time, but doing other things. Like I'd spend more time just talking to like my brother. I talk to him a lot, or my family, just sitting there, or just sitting by myself and just thinking. I think, I don't know if that's wasting time, but like it's just different.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I feel that like a lot of the things when I was bored, I didn't know what to do. I ended up just thinking of doing other things that were similar to a phone, or I didn't end up doing that, but I ended up like not necessarily being as productive as I could have been. I did do more productive things, but I also I wasn't only productive. You know what I mean? Like if I was bored sitting there, like, oh, I can't use Instagram or this and that, like, oh, I'll ask my family members if we want to play ping pong, like something like that, or I'll go on the Xbox. So it's not like I'm, just because I went off social media, that I'm like 100% the most productive person in the world. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely more productive than it usually is, I'd say.
Interesting. Yeah. I think it's a good jumping point to the wheel.
Yeah, let's spin the wheel.
So it is my topic first. And my topic, first of all, I'm going to preface this with a question to both of you. Okay. What is your favorite video game to play?
Like right now or of all time?
Either.
Or both? Can I do both?
Yeah, do both.
So of all time, I'm probably going to have to say Rainbow Six Siege. I have invested so much capital, time, emotion, and like just basically everything in that game. Mm-hmm. I love the dynamics. I love like the realism of like the CTUs and stuff like that. But right now, I have kind of gotten a little resurgence of DC Comics content in my life. So I went back to Injustice 2, which is like a Mortal Kombat type game with superheroes from DC Universe. So that's kind of what I'm into.
Gotcha. What about you, Cole?
So my favorite game, no doubt, I believe the best game of all time is Minecraft. That might be a nostalgic, biased thing. It's a game that means a lot to me. Reminds me of the old days in middle school when, you know, I'd be playing with my friends and there was no worry in the world. It was just the game, you know. So Minecraft I've always loved throughout my life. And right now I'm also playing Injustice 2. That's what I'm playing right now. It's not my favorite game of all time, but it's right now I'm really enjoying it. A lot of fun. So.
Yeah, so but I kind of want to get into kind of your Minecraft thing. Might have messed it up a little bit. But what I'm saying is every game that like is popular, every game that we want to play is violent. It's like either a first-person shooter or a Mortal Kombat game, like you were saying, Jake. But why? Why do we enjoy violent video games? Because we would not enjoy being in that situation in real life, right? I wouldn't necessarily enjoy being in a war in Call of Duty or Rainbow Six Siege. Why do we enjoy that, do you think?
I think, at least in my experience, It is because it is two things. It is easy and it is entertaining. Like when you have these huge universes like Harry Potter, like the Percy Jackson series was a huge part of my childhood. Like comics, like Marvel, like the DC comics, stuff like that. Like the thing that is both easy for them to do and entertaining for them to do is to fight, right? And I think that's been a social attraction for a lot of people, and kind of something they wanted to live vicariously. Like when I play Injustice 2, I'm living vicariously through the game and like being able to experience like the powers of like Dr. Fate, like cool like Batman and stuff like that, like superheroes that I really like, being able to like see that played out like firsthand. It's like kind of how we see the trend of like VR going, being able to personify that is a really cool experience. And like there's not something else for them to do that is that easy or that fun, because a lot of the things that we're attracted to in media like have powers, I guess, like or stuff like that, and like they can't like file taxes like we can play a game where like stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think it's just like, what's the most exciting thing you can do? It's like pull out a gun. You know what I mean? That immediately engages your audience is pulling out a gun or something violent. And that's why I feel like we see so much of that violence in video games, just because it's both, as Jake said, it's the most exciting thing for an audience and it's the easiest thing for a game developer to do. You know what I mean? They don't think about I feel like people don't think long and hard about having a more complicated way of getting an antagonizing force against you than through violence. And I think that's also it with an antagonizing force is with video games is, you know, oftentimes you have an antagonizing force like through violence and that makes you want to respond. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense, but.
Yeah, I think that is true, this easiest, most entertaining way. But, you know, recently, I mean, not recently because of the pandemic, but over the past 10 years, I would say there's an increase in school shootings in our country and around the world. They have all been linked to violent video games like Call of Duty, like all these people who do these things play these games. So do you think there is a link between violent video games and that type of violent behavior living vicariously? Like Jake said, do you think that comes out in real life too?
I think maybe, possibly, but I feel like the root of the issues with maybe school shootings in itself is more so mental health than violent video games. But I don't know. I would love to hear more stats about it because I don't know. I feel like at least from our generation, the argument that people always argue is no, violent video games do not cause violence. And then other generations and other people will say the opposite. So I'm very biased on that side. So I don't really know the other. I'd love to hear more from the other side. I feel like I haven't been more violent because of violent video games. I feel like just because you're showing something does not mean you're condoning it and promoting it. So just because violence is in a video game does not mean I feel like it's promoted.
Yeah, I would probably agree with Cole, but I think I would probably agree with Cole, but I think I think that's a lot more of a correlation than a causation. I think the true kind of causes of like rise in school shootings, stuff like that, is probably a lot to do with mental health culture, a lot to do with academic culture, a lot to do with like what we value in society and how we treat people who don't conform to those values of society. And I think it's way easier to say that video games are causing school shootings than to recognize a systemic issue in the way we educate, and a way that we like practice commerce, like the ease of purchasing a gun. Like, as sad as it is a heartbreaking thing to say. We just had 8 people in the state of Georgia, 8 Asian Americans gunned down.
Wait, seriously? Recently?
You didn't hear about this?
I didn't hear about this, no.
Yeah.
I've been off social media. That's where I get my news, so.
But basically what happened was there were 8 Asian American Pacific Islander individuals who were gunned down in the name of Asian hate and a rise in Asian hate that we've seen throughout the course of this pandemic, and basically throughout how Western and Chinese relations have expanded. We've talked about that in previous episodes, about like that dynamic and kind of the competition that's begun to expand between our two countries. But
Yeah,
as a result, I think primarily women. I'm not sure if they were entirely women.
It was 6 women.
Six women and 2 men.
Wow.
But gunned down, right? But with a firearm that was purchased that day.
Wow. Yeah, I did not know about this. That's really sad, heartbreaking. I mean, it's crazy to see the violence that goes on in our world today. I just don't know if the motivation of that violence is violent video games in our schools.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that's it. I'm just saying like that's just, we're seeing that rise, right? And I think it's so much easier to throw that blame on video games than to combat structural issues and structural problems facing the way our society functions, right? Fighting white supremacy, fighting xenophobia, fighting nationalist rhetoric, right? Like these things are difficult to do.
And not even that, more specifically to schools, school shootings, I think fighting mental health.
Yeah.
Fighting mental health issues.
I definitely agree with that. But I think like the one issue I think that is potent in violent video games is the normalization of the function of guns. I have played enough video games that I think, I don't think I've ever touched a gun. I might have touched a gun, but I've never fired a gun in my life. Hopefully we'll never have to. But I think the usage of guns has been normalized in society to the point where I think I could probably load and fire one just based on the media I've consumed in video games. And I think that's dangerous.
That's the point I want to make, is that we are normalizing kind of the violent culture that we see in not just video games, but entertainment as a general topic. I mean, movies, TV shows, all the most popular ones have to do with violence and have to do with guns especially. So when we normalize this, when we say, when we have these video games out there, we're introducing kids to this from an age of as low as 10, I would say, even through like games like Fortnite, which have a cartoony feel to them, but you're using a gun, right? And are we propagating that type of violence into the next generation? Is that how we want to do? Should we take a look at ourselves and be like, should we stop making violent video games for a couple of years, see how that works out first?
Yeah, I actually don't think that's a bad idea. I am going to agree that like we definitely do have guns everywhere in our society. Like every video game I play, in some aspect of it has violence in it. And I feel like, yeah, we probably should decrease that a little bit. And even just for a scientific study, I think to experiment with raising a kid or having someone go a long period of time without those violent video games, because maybe there is a causation there. I just don't know. And I feel like in my experience, there isn't, but there could be.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that although it's not in us, there are thousands of millions of kids out there who are different and who that like type of video game can trigger a terrible reaction in them, and being violent, and a violent outburst can happen. And I don't know, because I feel like when we play these games, we might have a different reaction. I think we say, okay, now we protect every video game that's violent. Okay, none of it can trigger anything.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's a really good point. But also, I think a lot of it comes down to the way we enforce the selling of like rated M video games. I've been playing rated M video games since I was in 8th grade. And that was pretty late compared to the other people. Like people who with older siblings have been playing them since they were like Halo. Halo's rated M. People have probably been playing that since they were like in 4th grade. Like I know my friend Dan had been playing like Modern Warfare 2, which like involves nuclear warfare and like crazy violence. Since his older brother played, I remember this is an anecdote. But like since he was very, very young, and that game is legally allowed to be purchased by people 17 and up, right? Yeah. And I remember like even when I used to go to GameStop and I would buy a rated M game, they would literally ask if I can get my mom to wave to them through the window just to make sure I had parental consent. Mm-hmm. Like standards on the floor for the way people can buy video games where necks are slit. Like it's just really crazy dynamics. And like I think the selling of those games will like there's just no enforcement, right? And I think there are tangible effects to that lack of enforcement.
Yeah, I agree. That's been my experience too. It's like it's crazy to think that even now I'm 17 and like I've still been playing rated M games for at least 3 or 4 years. But that's like I started 8th grade probably playing like Black Ops 3 was probably the first game I got that was M. But like I had friends literally playing Black Ops 2 in 2nd grade. My mom wouldn't let me because of the violence. But I think we bring it onto people so early. Like what's the requirement of that? You know what I mean? Why do we need that?
Yeah, and that's what I want to explore. Like, why as a culture are we now making this the norm? That, you know, at 2nd grade or 3rd grade, you're supposed to be playing Fortnite, you're supposed to be playing Black Ops 2, you're supposed to be playing Call of Duty. These types of games which are rated mature for 17 and up people, right? So realistically, you would be starting them right now. How do you like? I feel like I would be so different if I did not have access to like those types of games. I would be such a different person and not be as like able to like, you know.
Yeah, I think I'd definitely be different too.
Yeah. And I think also it has to do with the way we look at the culture of video game interactions, not as much as the content of the video games too. It is more than common to receive vicious hate messages from people on Xbox, on PC, on PS4 after either losing a game or playing with people. Like I've gotten message that like the F slur, the N slur, like vicious things that like I know damn well some 12-year-old on the other end is mad that he lost like a 1v1 and decided to message like that my mother is a vocab term that like that kid shouldn't be saying. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to point to a story that we had. I
was about to bring this up too. Yeah, we see this all the time. I read my FIFA.
Sorry. This is the 14th time Cole has cut me off in this podcast.
It's how a conversation works. You just real quick. I read my brother's FIFA like chats once in a while. I'll see them, and they are just totally rude. Like, you fucking suck at this game, bruv. Like, you're terrible. Fuck you.
Well, why are you doing a British accent?
I think what's going on? I think you'll find out why he's doing British.
Yeah, this roots back to our story with me and Jake.
So we were playing Battlefront 2, which is a Star Wars game, and there's a game mode called Hero Showdown that's 2v2s. And we fought these two people randomly through like the multiplayer system, and you don't communicate with them in the game, but they have the ability to message you, which is how this started. So I believe we lost. Yeah, so we lost 3-0, and then like through just the way the system works, we got an invite to an Xbox party, and in an Xbox party you can. Just like a phone call, really. So we joined, and then Cole, you wanna tell them how they?
Yeah, we joined the Xbox Live party, and me and Jake were like, to be funny, you know, it's random people were like, do we want to act like little kids? You know, we want to do a little baby voice, and so we joined the party, and we're like, hello, is anybody here? And then immediately, this guy with the most demeaning and powerful and stern and cool voice I've ever heard says, what were you doing there, bruv, huh? What was that game? 3-0, seriously. It's like you guys weren't even trying. It's unbelievable. This is the worst performance I've ever seen. And then I'm just like, shit. Like, and the way he said it, I'm not even giving it justice because the way he said it was so demeaning. It was like, you're trash. And he actually said those words.
He called us trash cans. And he proceeded to call us trash cans for 10 minutes. He would kick us, and then we would join back. Because he sent us like 30 invites before we joined. Yeah. So we would join back. And then he was like, you guys want to 1v1? Or you guys want to like do a rematch? And like, I feel like if we were trying, we could have won. Because like, we're pretty good. So
you are.
Thank you.
I mean, you guys lost 3-0.
No, guess what? We were having a good time. I think we're doing like super challenges.
We weren't.
That's besides the point. That's besides the point. But like, I was like, I want to sweat and like lose with like courage. So then we kept joining, and he would just go, you trash cans, and immediately kick us from the party. And I remember after...
Well, yeah, I want to cut in too, but I know.
Can we get a tally running on the times Cole tells
the amount of times I've cut off Jake today. Well, just to say that, like, the power he held over us was so great because we were the ones joining his party. Mm-hmm. So immediately we join his party, and he has the right to kick us out. So we join. He's like, what are you trying to join, trash can? Huh? Trying to join? And then he kicks us. And he liked Jake more than me because I was way more ass at the game. So he, like, would keep Jake in for longer. But
It was so.
Oh, you know what? At first
Yeah, it
too,
was just-
we reverted immediately to Australian accents after we switched from the baby thing. We did the baby thing for 1 second until we heard them talk, and we were like, "Shit!" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up, guys?" And I just talked like that. But sorry, I cut you off.
It was, yeah. I need an MLA letter apology at the end of this. But like it was so crazy how much, like, when we joined our individual party after without them, we were just like, I don't even want to play anymore. we're like, I want to get off of this Xbox.
Yeah, we were laughing about it. I told Jake, I was like, Jake, what? I feel terrible now. Like, what? Like, I almost feel like the way they were saying the things about me, like, were true. And I, like, hated that someone had that, like, power over me. Of course, now I can laugh at it, and after an hour, like, it was whatever. But just, like, the way they talked to us, like, made you feel like you are, like, a piece of shit. You know what I mean? And that's just the culture on the internet. You know what I mean? And I think not only violent videos can maybe cause people to be violent, but maybe just the culture that exists in not only violent video games, but every video game that can cause people to kind of become violent and kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's a culture that is very rude and aggressive towards other people. So maybe it makes you aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I have never had an experience with a live game because I don't have Xbox Live. I don't have any of that. So I've never played like
Really?
a multiplayer. Yeah, I've never done that.
I don't know why I see you so much as a FIFA guy.
I play FIFA most. Like if that's the thing. If that's the thing I get on Xbox, I'll play FIFA. But I don't play like online. So
Oh.
I don't play online. So
Yes.
I mean, I've never been exposed to that. And now that you're talking about it, it's kind of weird. Like I feel like if you guys were like 4 years younger. That would be like a trauma. I don't know if it's a trauma moment, but it'd be a defining moment for you.
Yeah.
And like what I do want to highlight about that situation is like that was the best possible situation because I have joined parties and I have heard 8-year-olds say the N-word. Like
Yeah.
I have heard like crazy things. Like I've heard like people just use language that like to me like it doesn't matter. Like I know it's just like a kid on the internet. But like say if I was younger and I joined the party, like that's going to hurt my self-image and that's going to hurt the way that I think that you can talk to people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue with this is like video game culture, not as much as the content of video games, is changing the way we think we interact with people, right? Mm-hmm. And when you like mix that with reloading an assault rifle and firing it at terrorists or your teammates, that's like when an issue happens.
It's like
that's the culture of how these games become violent.
It's almost like the perfect storm in a way with that. Like one, you have a bad culture, and two, the games that you're playing that in a culture that reinforces aggressiveness have to do with aggression. You know what I mean? So you have a bad culture, and then also your games are almost an outlet for that anger that can be caused by that culture.
Yeah, and through this discussion, I'm not saying we ban these games. I'm not proposing that. What I'm saying is that this culture is there, and this culture is there from a young age for pretty much globally. How do we combat that? Because you can't these games are fun to play. Nobody's going to stop playing them, and this is going to be a problem for everybody. And I think once you normalize this, as Jake was saying earlier, you're just going to. I feel like it's going to make things worse and worse. I don't think there is a way to make this better because people behind the shroud of anonymity are going to say whatever they want, do whatever they want, and be as violent as they want.
True. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we necessarily have to combat by stop playing video games. I think maybe we combat by, treating each other with respect and things like that. But I feel like, again, like the issue, because the people I know who have been playing violent video games since second grade, they don't come off to me as more violent than other people. That doesn't mean they aren't more violent, because inside in their mind they may be, but the way they come across isn't more violent, I feel. So I don't know if the best way to combat this is to eradicate or kind of enforce parents to not have their kids play violent video games. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like obviously I'm throwing this forward a lot, but if I was a parent and I knew my son or my daughter was being subject to that kind of environment and also having a perfect storm of having a gun in the game, I would not allow. I feel like I wouldn't allow my daughter or son to play that until he was at least 15.
100%. I agree with you there. Yeah, but I don't want to tell other parents necessarily to do it. Because I don't know if it's the right way. Like, I think it is, but maybe they don't, you know?
Yeah, I think this conversation is very similar to banning or like blaming guns for gun violence versus the person, right? Like, where's that line drawn? I personally don't know, right? Like, I obviously think it has to do with like the person's like autonomy and their decisions, stuff like that. But like, where does either the government or a private company come in and limit interactions with the media, right? Like, do you just know where that line could possibly be drawn, or like if there should be a line drawn, or do you think like individuals should have sovereignty to kind of make their own choices and face the implications?
I'm not suggesting the government steps in, but I think video game makers, video game developers have to have bigger responsibility in the environment they're saying that like they're, I don't know what word to use exactly, but they're kind of fostering that environment to subject even like 10-year-olds to this culture and normalizing it. I don't know. I feel like there has to be something that you could like to do, because I cannot see a 10-year-old or 8-year-old, as you were saying, Jake, being subject to this environment and not changing and not being more aggressive because of it, you know?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I totally agree. 10-year-olds would definitely be less aggressive without it. And I think it is up to the video game developers. And I wonder, I feel like almost having guns and violence in a video game is almost a cheap way to please your audience. Mm-hmm. I remember distinctly when I was making a short film a couple years ago about this scientist who had a cloning machine that goes wrong, and he basically needs to destroy it. At the end of it, I just had him pull out a gun and shoot the machine. And when my kind of mentor like saw that and read the script for it and the storyboards, she was like, why have a gun at the end of it? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a quick way to get the audience excited, but it's really just, it's cheap. You know, it's the easiest thing you can do. And it's like very overdone. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like that moment kind of helped me realize like, yeah, I don't need this. So I feel like for a lot of video game developers, like, do you really need to have some games be so violent, you know?
Yeah.
I also think there's a cultural association between firearms and toughness.
Yeah.
Like, and
toxic
I think
masculinity, I would say.
Yeah,
like
I think it agrees to that kind of like that almost power dynamic of violence being like, it's a sad reality, but like guns are cool. Like culturally we see guns as cool. Like, and I think there's that like social dynamic of seeing someone with a gun as tough and as something that you do want to like personify a little bit, and like and if that medium is a video game, then that's what it is. And like in American culture in general, like we have gun possession rates unlike any other country or any other like entity in the history of, like, it's crazy. Like our possession of firearms or weaponry in general precedes anything in human history. And I think it just comes down to what we value as a society and as a people, and like kind of what interests us.
Yeah, but do you think that would change that perception of gun being a tough guy thing and cool if we didn't have that? I feel like it would. I feel like if we didn't have the James Bonds of the world who use guns so cool, and it's and like, or these violent video games, and you see people playing these games like, oh, I want to do that. I feel like it would change. I don't think if we didn't have those things to look at and say that's cool because I saw somebody else do it and play that game, I feel like that would change.
No, I agree, especially as little kids. Looking at my older brothers, I know, play these games, and looking at them play it, it was, I mean, your brothers and any older sibling or person is very much a role model. As a little kid, every older person is a role model, and seeing them play video games makes you kind of associate that with being cool. Like, oh, they're playing Black Ops 2. I could never play Black Ops 2 as a young kid, and I was like, oh, my brothers play that. I really want to play that. And I feel like just because of the culture of that, we associate coolness with, you know, violent video games.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel, though, about the claim that, I mean, I think this is kind of true with my experience. Well, basically this. How do you feel about the claim that people say that violent video games are just more fun? Not necessarily a claim, but just an opinion that is very widely held.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they're more fun. Like, there are games that concern themselves with other topics. Like, there are farming games, right? There are, like, money acquisition games, like Adventure Capitalist. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
But usually No,
I don't remember that.
Well, it was like this game where you could like invest in things and like.
It was like a clicker game.
Yeah.
Almost.
Oh yes, I think I maybe do.
But like there's such little content you can explore in video games without violence, or there is other content, but it's difficult. I'd say the game that probably did that the best is Minecraft, but there's violence in Minecraft still. Like you like fighting and like sword creation and armor creation is like it's still it's a huge part of the game. But like obviously like the architecture, right, and stuff like that, and mining and stuff like that, it's a huge part of it too. But I think that's probably the only example where that is done well. Like Minecraft is such a popular and great game because it is one of the only games to like perform the removal of violence well, right? And that's why it's so profound.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think Minecraft's the one game. When I heard you say that, I was like, that's the one game that I think it does it really well. That it makes the game really fun, like that armor aspect, the sword aspect, but it's not gruesomely violent. It's not gruesomely that gory, I would say.
Yeah, what I like about Minecraft is like maybe opposed to the other games we talked about, like Rainbow Six or even Injustice or Black Ops 2. It harbors creativity, whereas I feel like these other games harbors aggression or exciting stimulus. You know what I mean? Minecraft, I feel like a lot of times forces you to think, like, what are you going to build your house out of? Or how am I going to work through this redstone to make a piston door? You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of other games are just like, shoot, like blood. Oh my gosh, blood everywhere. Holy shit, we're in a battlefield. Holy crap, there's a plane. It just crashed. Explosion. You know
like, yes, I killed that guy. Yes, I killed that guy.
And it's super invigorating. I'm not going to lie. It is very exciting with some of these games. Personally, my experience in violent video games is I'm not a big video game guy overall, but more specifically, violent video games like Battlefield 1 or Modern Warfare, any of them, I don't love them because I feel like to me they're all, I mean, I know this is a big generalization, but to me they're all very similar in the sense that like you have your domination, you have your capture the flag, this and that, and in the end goal, like it's always just killing people, you know, and I feel like to me that gets tiring.
Yeah, all games, like I feel like the vast majority of first-person shooters are you have a gun in your hand, you kill people with it, but also do this objective.
Exactly.
And that's it. You know what I mean? And it's I think the only thing that differentiates it for people is their interests, right? Like if you're like a World War I person, you play Battlefield 1 and instead of an AK-12 in your hand, you have a musket, right? Like you can ride a horse instead of riding a tank. Or if you're a Star Wars person, you can hold a blaster and you can be riding like a tauntaun.
Tauntaun, yeah.
Yeah, like something like that.
Niral has no idea what that was.
Yeah.
It's like, how have you just like not seen Star Wars?
That's
It's
a
so
different
crazy.
topic, Jake.
Yeah, you're right though, is that even when there is an objective, what comes first is always killing people. That even for me, I don't even think about the objective. I'm like, okay, how can I get the most kills?
Yeah, and there is a positive emotion connected to killing people, and I feel like that's a big problem. Like when you kill somebody, like yes, I killed somebody. Like I feel like when you, again, I'm going to go back to when you're at a young age and you're associating a positive emotion to somebody dying, even in a video game, I don't feel like that is a good thing to do, and I feel like that changes some like view of killing or anything. Like I feel like when an 8-year-old will see a massacre, like a school shooting, or like what happened in Atlanta, they won't have that same emotion that somebody else of like 24-year-old does, because they know that shooting somebody is not cool. Like shooting somebody is not, like killing them is not good, you know?
Yeah, I can totally see that side of it. Yeah. I would agree.
All right. Are we at a good place to
I think that's
move
a
on?
good wheel point. We should call that something. A wheel spot.
A wheel spot?
A wheel stopper.
Oh, like a place to stop with the wheel.
Let's get
That's a good wheel stop.
Let's get an open mind thesaurus going on. A little dictionary for us. Not thesaurus. A dictionary.
A dictionary for like specific words we use.
Like we got thoughts on the cast. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
That's our little idiomatic
So we
phrase.
only have two so far. Thoughts on the cast and wheel spot.
Wheel spot, wheel stopper.
I-
Listeners, hit the comments.
I like wheel spot because it like combines both like ready to move the wheel, and this is a good place to stop.
Hey, yo, wheel stop.
Oh no!
You guys can click off.
We're not doing that every time.
So we have Jake's topic next. So let's go.
Okay, so this, just like a warning to everyone listening, this could be a total mess. This is a very experimental topic, and I'm kind of excited for it to play out. I had a conversation with somebody this weekend about the concept of kind of what makes us happy as a society, right? Like, I think there's such a profound difference between different age groups and generations that provide meaning and a sense of completion or fulfillment in our lives. I think for people who lived during the Great Depression, that comes through in monetary acquisition and financial success. For their children, the idea of the American dream, the rise of suburbia and white flight to the suburbs, and having that 3-bedroom garage with the car, like the idea of the quintessential American dream that rose during that time. The next generation, probably, I'm not sure.
Well, the next generation would be millennials, right? Because that's baby boomers you were talking about, right? So I guess there is a generation between them, I think, but really, like...
Is that Gen X?
It's something like that, but millennials is the big one that you know
okay.
next.
So I think millennials like kind of had an interesting position in generational history because they were the first generation to be worse off than their parents were, right? The United States, following the Cold War, had a huge period. Oh, that's a good one for the middle generation. Cold War. The idea of American exceptionalism, the flourishing of democracy and capitalism, and more monetary acquisition. So after that generation, the United States kind of experienced a little bit slower of economic growth. So that kind of changed the way generations valued themselves and their successes. So they probably, since they were worse off than their parents, millennials have an interesting point of view where they focus more on like emotional connectivity and stuff like that, and like focusing more on individual happiness, right? And that was kind of their claim to happiness. And I think with our generation, since we were raised during the Depression, 2008, and other things like that, there's like varying degrees of what makes us happy, right? So it's just been really interesting because I know people have just like such different views on this topic. So I kind of just wanted to like put that out there. What like makes you guys happy? Or like how do you value your success, and like what do you qualify your success with?
Okay, a very good question. So basically, at the root of it, you want to find out what makes our generation happy.
Mm-hmm. And like what I think like that, and what qualifies success.
So I'd say it's two different things for me. Is one, what makes me happy is the relationships with the people I have, my friends, my family, just the emotion of love. Like that doesn't have to be romantic love, but just, I don't know, just being around my family members is such a state of like peace and underlying happiness, just being with those people. So that's what I'd say makes me happy. What I define success as is actually whatever you want, whatever the fuck you want it to be. So I have no answer for that. Like,
Gotcha.
If you think you are successful with just getting up every day, then great, you're successful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think there is no objective answer for that in my view.
Yeah. So I think like, because people have very specific things, right? People be like, I'll only be happy when I have a Tesla. Like when I have a beach house, when I have a Ferrari. Like people have like very materialistic goals. And I think our generation has those materialistic goals a little bit. Maybe like not you individually, but I've heard it from people in our generation who want specific things, like the specificity of materialism that qualifies success. So Niral, if you want to tackle that question. Oh, my bad, sorry.
I was just going to say just to add to that real quick, is that like I have seen also like a lot of people, I feel like when I ask them what they want to do in life in our generation, a lot of people just want to make a lot of money. Like they're just like, well, I want to go into economics, I feel like that's a good, sorry, Niral, you're going into economics. I shouldn't have said that specifically, but
business majors.
It's like not just any field, but I feel like it doesn't matter the field, just the motivation. I think a lot of people are like, I want to make a lot of money.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to say economics majors do not all make money. They also help people. But
name one.
Wait, Niral, you haven't majored in economics yet, so you do not know, right?
There's still time to go
but
back.
There are socioeconomic people who help just general like generational like they do that. Okay?
No, I absolutely agree. My brother majored in economics, so yeah, I agree.
All right. Anyways, what makes me happy? Kind of the same thing what you said, Cole. Relationships. I personally, I believe in the power of conversation. I believe like when you're having a conversation with somebody, there's nothing more powerful than that. Like transferring ideas, communicating with somebody.
That's amazing.
I believe in being open-minded.
No, I totally agree. That was really beautiful. I totally agree in that. So.
Yeah, and
That was weird. The collapse situation was weird.
I'm sorry. The words Niral was saying there like struck a chord with me so much that I was like, I need to applause for this.
yeah,
And I joined in because I really like got that energy, not from Niral, but from Cole's clap.
So it didn't strike a chord with you, only with me. You know, it would
No,
have
I
been.
actually don't agree.
It would have been really awkward though if you didn't clap and I was just the one clapping and Niral kept trying to talk. Sorry, we have cut you off here. Keep going.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm a big believer in that. The power of conversation, being just talking with somebody and being able to bounce ideas off of them, or even talking about something that meaninglessly. It's huge. I think that is where I get a lot of my happiness. Success, again. I mean, obviously, I would like to say people can define success what they want. Personally, I believe in economic success. Okay, I think
Capital acquisition. Like you,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
yeah, I think there's an old saying: I'd rather be crying in a Ferrari than I'd be crying not living like being homeless.
Yeah.
So I feel like although that's extreme, kind of agree with that.
That's a good point, though. I would agree with that statement.
Yeah. And I'll tackle this question. Like I'll agree with you guys. And as much as I mean, I might sound like a little bit like a douche here, but like as much as I do want to say like, as long as I'm happy with my decisions and like the things I do, like that's all that matters. But like since I want to go into the political realm so badly, like I also think my success is qualified by possessing a certain degree of power, of influence in public affairs, right? Like that's if I study politics my whole life, and concern myself with that dynamic, and I never am involved in an office. Like when I say I'm not like I'm talking about like public office or something like that, like or working in like a bureau or something like that. Like if that never happens, like what qualifies success in that field rather than just like emotional stability, right? So I think that kind of changes the way we view success, and I think just based off what we said, our generation can value, like we find value in success, right? Whether that's financial acquisition or acquisition of power. Like I think that we could potentially see our generation moving towards success. So what I wanted to do, I mean, this could go very poorly, but I wanted to just call certain people, call some of my like best friends, and just ask them a simple question: what makes you happy, and how will you determine your success in the future? So I'm going to start off by calling my friend Gwen. Gwendolyn Poole, you are on with Cole, Niral, and I on the Open Minds podcast.
Oh my God! Oh
yeah.
Hi.
So
Hi, Gwen.
So we're doing a cool little segment today where we're talking about what defines happiness and success in our generation.
Ooh, that's such a good topic.
Thank you. It was mine. So what? I'm going to ask you two questions. How do you find happiness? And what do you think will qualify your success in the future?
Ooh, I wish I had time to prepare. Okay. Short answer off the top of my head. I really like art, and I find a lot of joy in that. So I think whatever personal hobby you do, and you take the time for self-care, and you, spend 30 minutes to an hour, like try and do it a day. That's what I do. That gives me happiness. And then, what was the second part of the question? Like
like in your professional career, we were talking about how like different generations determine success either through like financial acquisition or stuff like that.
Right.
And I think our generation is a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree.
We're
with
just
that.
built
Yeah.
different. But I was just curious, like, how do you think you'll determine your success one day?
Like, how do you define it?
Okay. Well, for me personally, I have no idea what I want to do in the professional world.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, my answer to that is to just do something that I actually love and I enjoy doing. I do not want to be stuck at an office job for, till I'm in my 50s, 60s, up until retirement. Like, I want to be active in my job and actually, like, help people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if I can find happiness in what I'm doing, then that's what I would consider success.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Gwen.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us in the Open Minds, and remember to always keep an open mind. Okay, I'll see you. Bye.
So literally both things Gwen just said struck a chord with me. First one, I wish because that the first one, that's very true for me as well. Like, just creating in itself, no matter what I'm creating, does bring a joy. I don't know why that is a thing for humans, because I feel like a lot of people love creating, whether it be through art or whether it through be like business plans or something like that. So that I find that is very true. And also the second answer to her success is like literally exactly why I'm like pursuing film, is because like I don't want to be at a desk job in 40 years. I want to do what I love. It's why you're pursuing politics, and they're all part of it. It's why I think you're pursuing.
I was actually talking about this with Jake earlier today. I'm struggling there because I don't think I will find a love in what I'm going to do. So I don't know. That's personal to me. I don't know. Like,
so then why do it at all?
I don't know. I feel like I enjoy it, but I don't love it. That's the difference. Like,
Because what we were doing is I was looking at courses at a prospective school that I might be attending next year, and I was just like, I love this course. I want to take this course. Look at this housing. And we were just talking about like the topics and getting a sense of passion for things you do, because like love what you do and you never work a day in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that was like a really interesting kind of take on it, because I think like that passion defines so much of how you'll qualify success in the future, at least to me.
Yeah, I mean, I know of some people like my friend Harsha here. He says he completely opposite. He doesn't need to find a passion. All he cares about is just not I wouldn't say necessarily making money, but like being in a good spot and not being
like stable.
Right?
Maybe we should call Harsha up then.
Okay, actually, I think that might be a really good spot to just give Harsha a ring.
All right, let's do it.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey, Harsha, thank you for taking our call. So you're actually, we're filming the Open Minds right now. And we were just curious. We're talking about the definition of happiness and how our generation defines happiness. So I was curious if you could testify to what defines your version of happiness and how you qualify success.
All right. So, well, for me, they kind of go, hand in hand. For me, I'll talk about success first. For me, success is basically getting to a point where the only things that you have to do are things that you want to do. Like, say, like, you're in college, you can say, like, I like my major. But there might be a lot of stuff that comes along with that major that you might not want to do, like a bunch of work, a bunch of studying, stuff like that. So I think once you get to a place where you've already done all that extra work, and literally the only things that you can, perceive, the only tasks that you can perceive or tasks that you want to do, I think that is what defines success in my terms. And I think once I reach that point, I think then I'll be, maybe not true happiness, but I think I'll definitely be happy doing the stuff that I want to do, not having to look at a list of stuff, have all these preordained things given to me by other people, other groups.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you think, and then I think bouncing off of that, what do you think success is? Do you think you would define success as financial gain or emotional or another way?
I say a lot of this is subjective. So if you want it to be financial, sure. It can be, if you like earn a certain amount of money, if you consider that success, sure. Then you're successful. It can also be emotional. You get to a point where, like, say you get a family and you may or may not be financially stable at that point, but if that family was the only thing that you ever needed in life, you have it. So in that sense, you could say that you're successful if that's the only thing that you ever cared about.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining, or for taking our call and joining in on the pod.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Thanks
I'll
for
see
having
you.
me.
I really kind of liked Harsh's focus there on like kind of defining success as whatever you want to do. I guess that kind of does align with what I said. But I think it's just a really good point that like it is defined by what you want to do. Do what you want in life, and you hopefully will be happy.
Yeah, I love like the happiness line of like I thought that was really poetic, almost like check like once every box is checked that you don't want to do, and all that's left is almost a bucket list.
Yeah.
Like that's like, oh, those are really good words.
Yeah, I forget what he said exactly. I think it was what you want to do is what you have to do, or what you have to do should be what you want
Exactly,
to do.
that was what he said.
Yeah, I thought that was like almost like poetic.
Yeah, I do want to apologize, Harsha, again. I kind of misinterpreted your views there before you even said them. But yeah, you cleared it up. All right, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are two high school perspectives. I'm going to call my friend Tara, who is a freshman in college.
Hello.
Hey, Tara. You are on with Cole, Niral, and I. We are filming the Open Minds podcast.
Oh my gosh! I'm so embarrassed.
So
Hi, Tara.
Hello.
Hi.
So we're currently discussing the idea of happiness and how different generations perceive their happiness.
Okay.
So we're just calling people and asking, number one, how, what is a point where you'll be happy in your life, and how do you define success?
Okay, so this is a really good question because I actually was thinking about this the other day. So, for me personally, a point where like I feel like I'll reach like happiness is probably like after school's all done, and I'll, like when I get married one day. Hopefully that happens. That's like for me when I'll reach like top happiness, you know. And success, I could argue two ways. Personally, for me, success is how happy you are doing what you love. But I know that a lot of people will say the amount of money that you make is defines success. So I had an argument in like one of my classes the other day, and a lot of people said that what defines success is the number in your bank account. So I don't know. But
That's
personally
crazy to
for me, personally for me, it's like I'm gonna love what I do, and that's to me is success.
Interesting. Yeah, because we were talking about that and just saying like different generations based on like kind of the conditions of how they're raised. Like people raised after the Great Depression, you know, like they focused just so much on the acquisition of wealth, right? And like our generation just situated differently. And I think the general consensus of what we heard so far has been on emotional stability and happiness, right? I think it has a lot to do with our generation's focus on mental health, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for taking our call.
Well, thank you for joining, or thank you for inviting me. Jeez.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank
I'll
you.
see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
I love her connection with how they're connected, that success is just you being happy. I didn't look at it like that, and I feel like maybe I should change my answer to success is you being happy, but then you being happy is rooted in doing what you want and making success whatever you want to be.
Yeah, those are great words.
Yeah, I agree. I think everyone we've called so far has kind of had a general sentiment of success is what is subjective and what you make of it. And I think that's a very cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try two more.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try my friend who is currently in Hawaii. I have no idea if Luke will pick
Luke,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, but we'll try it. Wow. Hello, Luke. How are you? You are on with me, Colin Niral. We are currently filming the Open Minds.
Oh, wow. How's it going?
We're doing great.
Good, man.
So we just had two quick questions for you. So we're currently discussing the concept of happiness and how we define happiness and success. So we have two questions for you. Number one, how do you define happiness? And number two, what qualifies success in your life?
Dude, you basically just woke me up. That is some loaded
Wait, what
questions.
time is it in Hawaii right now?
Well, I mean, I just went to school I woke up at 2:30 for school.
Wait,
Oh
in the
my
morning?
God.
And I was,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, in the morning I had a test
Whoa! Oh
first
my God,
thing.
that sucks.
Although
right now, I think
technically
it's
it's
like 9.
6 for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's 10. All right, what am I thinking of?
I feel so bad. Right?
No.
Luke, we
No,
need
no,
an
it's
answer
fine.
right now.
Wait, how do I define happiness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going
Going to bed right now? Is that it?
Not
I
being friends
say,
with Jake.
yeah, it's a good one. I guess being content with how you spend your life. I don't know.
No, that's definitely no.
I like that.
Yeah, like just
With how you
It's kind of weird how we just
Use-
said I like that at the same time.
yeah.
We like we're
being
in
content
sync.
with how you use your time, I guess.
Interesting.
Okay. And how would you? What was the second one?
How would you qualify success? Like a lot of people qualify it on like a number, a possession, a type of house, or something like that. And I was just curious if you had a medium to value success.
I guess being able to have freedom in how you spend your time.
Interesting.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot actually.
Yeah.
Because like,
All right.
okay, thank you so much for joining us.
Good night, Luke.
Yeah, good. Sorry for waking you up.
No problem. Thank
Okay.
you guys for calling.
I'll see
All
you.
right. See ya.
Bye.
See you guys.
So Luke brought 2 angles there that I think are like super interesting. The first one that I love is the content with your situation, because I feel like happiness isn't just feeling great all the time. Like it's an underlying satisfaction. You know what I mean? Like it's not all the time you going out of bed and being like, oh, I feel amazing. I feel the best I ever have. That's not what happiness looks like in everyday life. I feel like that's not a realistic expectation to have.
Mhm.
I feel like what happiness is an underlying satisfaction of where you are and who you're with.
Are you saying that happiness is fulfillment? Because I feel like what you're describing is satisfaction all the time is
Mhm.
fulfillment, I would say.
Maybe a little bit. I'd say so. But I feel like being fulfilled, I don't know. I feel like say you're really happy because you love your job. I don't know if that makes you fulfilled. I feel like fulfilled is more so rooted in purpose than happiness, like a feeling.
Okay.
But what do you guys think about that Luke's
Yeah.
angle of an underlying content?
Mm-hmm. I definitely like that. What I really liked was what he said about success. Was the idea that you spend your time the way you want to. Like if you're not bound by financial burden, if you're not bound by emotional burden, like if you're spending time with people you don't like, if you're spending your time in a job that you don't like if all of your time is used in a manner that makes you like feel fulfilled in a sense, that is success. I actually really, really like what you said about that.
So the only thing with that, though, which I do agree, but what do you guys think about this? Is that those things, the ability to have that freedom, is rooted in money. What my dad said to me before is that like money doesn't make you happy, but money gives you the time to do the things that make you happy. You know what I mean? So for example, like if you have a lot of money, like you don't have to clean your house anymore. You could pay somebody else to do it. You could pay somebody else to make your food. Suddenly you have all this time in the day to do the things you love. So how do you feel about that?
No, like
Austin?
I mean, I really don't even think it's that sad, but as sad as it is, like, I think it's true. I think it's largely accurate that there is a financial aspect to success. And I think that financial aspect can give you the potential to fulfill the emotional aspect, right? If you don't have to worry about those things, that gives you time to work on yourself. If you can hire a therapist, right? Like that type of stuff.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think you put it well, because there's definitely a financial degree to success. I don't know if a number is the way to put it, but the way that it can alleviate other pressures in your life to allow you to grow in certain ways.
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely interconnected because I don't feel like you can ever have, I mean, this is my view again, emotional like happiness without having some sense of financial stability. Because I feel like, I mean, the way our world works today, if you're not financially stable, I don't believe you can be emotionally stable. So I would say they're very interconnected. And I think what Luke was saying there was success is being like having the time to do what you want to do and being able to do that. I think that's a very profound way to look at it.
Yeah.
Our final call, actually, we'll do 2 more calls. The second to last call is going to be our friend Dan.
Daniel, we call upon thee. 3, 2, 1.
Answer. 3, 2, 1. Answer. Yeah, this might be our first failure of the day.
He might call us back.
He might call us back.
Do we interrupt your topic, Cole? Yeah, we got sent a voicemail. Okay. Last one. We're gonna do my friend Addie.
Hello.
Hey, Addie, you're on the Open Minds podcast with me, Cole and Niral.
Oh my god.
How are you?
Take out my hello?
Again, we can.
Addie, we're keeping it.
So
What's up?
so we're talking about the idea of happiness and success, and it kind of became how they're interconnected a little bit. But we just have 2 questions for you. We just want to
Okay.
kind of get people's opinions on this matter.
Okay.
So the first question is, how do you determine happiness? And the second question is, like, what qualifies success in your life?
Okay. So with the first one, I think that, what qualifies like happiness is different in everyone's opinion,
Mhm.
because someone could be happy like being an accountant and other people would not find that to be very happy for them. And I think that like happiness is your own interpretation of it. And like for me, I think happiness is like when I'm like completely satisfied with my life. Even like being happy isn't necessarily like having no bad things in your life ever. Like it's like being satisfied and content with what you have, even with the bad things and the good things, like just being satisfied.
Addie, it's fascinating that you just said that, because one, Luke had a similar perspective. He said it's being content, and then we just continued to make the point. I was saying that like it's being happy isn't like feeling like the best you've ever felt every day. It's like an underlying satisfaction with everything.
Yeah, exactly.
We're on the same wavelength here.
We are on the same exact wavelength. And then for success, again, everyone has their different interpretations of success. Like to me, success isn't about money or how good of a job I get in the future or how good my GPA is. But to me, success is being like happiness. Happiness is success for me. If I'm happy, I feel successful.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thanks so much for calling me. This was so fun.
Thanks,
Okay, cool.
Adelaide.
I'll see ya.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
I love this. This is great.
It was so fun to see everybody's different perspectives.
Yeah. I think that's a great jumping point. I don't want to really talk about it because I think we can get to that in Thoughts on the Cast.
That's on the cast.
Okay, we'll move to Cole's final topic.
Yeah, on to my topic, the biggest of them all, I'd say. No, I'm kidding. The only reason I say that is because we've been preparing for it, because we all had to watch. My topic is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and it's a movie, and we all had to watch it beforehand to get prepared for us talking about this. So it's no surprise to any of us today that we're talking about it, but I'll give a little intro of Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was released last Thursday in March 2021, March 18th, I believe. And basically, it's like a director's cut of the original movie, Justice League, which came out in 2019. So I'll give a little background. Zack Snyder was hired to direct Justice League and kind of shoot the movie, and he did so, and he finished production. Production is the shooting phase. And unfortunately, when he finished, his daughter passed away, so he had to leave the project. And so basically what Warner Brothers had to do was bring on another director to finish up like the movie, the editing and everything. So they brought up another director, Joss Whedon, who directed the first Avengers. And basically the Warner Brothers execs kind of took this as an opportunity to redirect the DC universe, which is the movies of all the DC properties, because they didn't like the direction Zack was taking it, because his movies were not received very well, like very badly on Rotten Tomatoes. It came off The Dark Knight, so they were taking a new dark spin on it. They think audiences loved dark movies, and so they took Superman and Batman in that direction. And they weren't received well at all. Really, Batman v Superman had a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my God.
I know last time we were talking about ratings from 1 to 10 and what's good and bad, but that is definitely bad.
Yeah.
So they didn't like the direction Zack was taking it. So they hired Joss to reshoot the movie, although it was all already shot. And so Joss reshot 3/4 of the movie. Zack Snyder says that a quarter of his original film is left in the one version that was released in 2019. So they kind of took advantage of Zack and reshot his whole vision and released this movie in under a year because they had to reshoot a whole movie and then get all the VFX done, and they rushed it and they redid it, and it was a colossal fuck up. People hated the movie. We all saw it, right? It was terrible, the original version. And fans kind of discovered, looking at trailers from Joss when Joss was involved and when Zack was involved, that these are two different movies. So this whole movement kind of started called Release the Snyder Cut. And at first Zack was like, there is no cut. I didn't get it all filmed. There is no Snyder Cut, because he officially had to say that. But fans kept pushing. And eventually Zack was like, there is a cut. I did film this. I filmed the whole movie, but it's never going to be released. It'll never happen. And then fans kept pushing, and eventually HBO Max and Warner Brothers decided to release Zack's version, to work on the VFX, finish the editing, because as Zack left, it was at the end of production, so everything wasn't edited, and to release his original vision. And so that's basically what we saw in the when did we watch it? Saturday. So what do you guys think about the situation, the background overall?
I was very surprised that Warner Brothers was willing to release the film. That is nothing but embarrassing on behalf of the way they operate as a studio, especially after his daughter killed herself. Like it's just so crazy. And I think it also says a lot about how fans can control studios, and how there is a substantial amount of power in audiences, right? In fans, stuff like that. And I mean, we'll obviously dive into how the movie was and stuff like that. But I think just the fact that there was a Snyder Cut, and that it was originally said not to be a thing, and then fans made it a thing, and then they released it, a 4-hour movie. It says a lot about the power of consumers.
Yeah, I think although it was, I would say, embarrassing for Warner Brothers Studio, I feel like it's a good thing. I feel like it's a good thing that they released this. It's a good thing that now fans are being kind of quench their thirst for the Snyder Cut, because I feel like if entertainment is about entertaining people, and if people weren't entertained for that, then releasing this is a good thing. It's a good move by Warner Brothers, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I think it a lot of times today companies just don't want to backtrack, because it's embarrassing to say we messed up, especially for a company, especially to investors. So it is really commendable that they did release it, but my thing is you should have released it in the first place, because they took advantage of Zack Snyder, who had to leave the project because of personal reasons, and just because they didn't like how Zack was taking, what direction Zack was taking the franchise in. They took advantage of him and they reshot the whole movie. You know what I mean? He lost because his daughter just passed away, and they reshoot 3/4 of his vision. I mean, I know these movies mean a lot to Zack, you know? I mean, he put his own money into the Snyder Cut. You know what I mean? He took no pay for doing this because he cares that much about his vision.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like a example of a corporation taking advantage of an individual.
Yeah.
And I think it also shows, I don't know, it's exciting because I am a DC Comics fan over Marvel in terms of characters, not cinematic universes. But it was exciting to see this kind of revitalization and energy boost into DC Comics, into these characters that I personally just care so much about. And I know we'll dive into it, but it was such a great product. And it was just so nice to see.
Mm-hmm. I feel like his cut is also a big triumph for creative liberty, because there's always a battle between the studio and the creatives. Rightly so, because one of them are trying to make money and the other is trying to make a creative vision. So it's kind of a win, in a sense, after a big loss for that creative liberty. So I guess before we get into the deets of the movie, the details, I hate that I just said deets, but I guess we'll do a non-spoiler review, kind of our thoughts, like go around. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely liked it a lot more than the first one. I fell asleep during the first one, so that just puts into perspective how bad it was, or how bad I thought it was. But this new one, the Zack Snyder cut, it was good. I felt, I don't know, I felt a little bit that it could have been better, but it was definitely still good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think it's one detail I left out is that this movie's 4 hours long.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very long movie, so just to keep in mind what this is.
I virtually thought, not all aspects of it, but like, just because it's so subjective to the first movie, when I first watched it, like, I was like, this is borderline flawless.
Yeah.
Like, the organizational structure of parts,
Mm-hmm.
the emotional, like, development of the characters, like, in the first movie, you do not care about a single character.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, some way, that movie makes you not care about Batman, and Batman is one of my favorite superheroes of all time,
Yeah.
if not the favorite superhero of all time.
Yeah.
And this it gave purpose to action. It developed characters. The structure was great. The dialogue was good. The villain you cared about, and like the costume design was brilliant, and a lot more.
Yeah, I loved it too. I thought it was amazing. And I'm going to be honest, I don't love Zack Snyder as a director. I respect him for pursuing his vision and what he sees a movie should be. Like, I did not like Batman v Superman or Man of Steel, but I don't think that's means you should totally take advantage of him and reshoot his vision. You know what I mean? When his daughter killed herself. So I think it's really good, and I'm pleasantly surprised because I don't usually enjoy his movies, and I love this. And I think maybe it's because Zack Snyder was allowed to be Zack Snyder in this. Like, he was allowed to do everything he wanted to. Like, all right, this is a spoiler, but it's not a big spoiler. Like, Batman says fuck. You know what I mean? Like, that never happens.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've never been connected to the DC universe, so I guess I didn't really get the movie that much. But I definitely thought it was a good movie. It was a good superhero movie. It was entertaining. The action was good, I would say. But yeah, I didn't feel like, if from a non-DC fan, this movie would not get me into DC. That's what I would say.
Oh,
Really?
interesting. I didn't know.
That's upsetting.
Oh my God, you know what I love about this movie is the pacing. It is flawless. Absolutely flawless. It's slow, it's rhythmic, it's like
It's logical.
It's
it makes
logical.
sense. Like, when characters go from one place to another, you understand why they're doing that. And like, not even Marvel movies do that sometimes.
Yeah.
And like, I see Marvel movies as perfect superhero movies a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because they were just organized so well.
Exactly.
But like, Zack Snyder really did a good job bringing purpose to action in this movie.
Yeah, the pacing was just amazing, and I can confidently say at no point in the 4 hours was I ever bored. I know halfway in, 2 hours, I had to pee, and Nate, my brother, and you guys were like, no, like, let's keep watching. Like, I'm so ready to keep going. I was so ready too. I just had to pee. So we took a break, but we could have totally watched that for 4 hours straight.
Yeah, I think there wasn't a scene or a shot out of place in that movie, and I think, yeah, I that's kind of encapsulates what I want to say. There wasn't a moment where I was like, why is that there? Like, what, that shouldn't have been there.
Yep.
And I think that says a lot about how good the movie is.
Yeah, I think Jake makes a great point too, that like Zack Snyder brings purpose and depth to the characters. In the other movie, literally, there is not one like characteristic that you can define with the characters. You can't even define each and every character's motivation and how they relate to each and every other character. You know what I mean? Everything in Zack Snyder's Justice League is so interwoven. Everyone has a reason for doing things, a motivation for doing things. We'll get into that a little more into spoilers because there's something very specific that I think is key to this movie. That is a motivation that makes it so different.
Mm-hmm. And I think one quick thing I want to say is the attention to detail was so good in this movie. Like, and I'm kind of referring to textures, like the way that Steppenwolf's costume looked, like just the way like the detail and the way the textures like moved, the way other characters looked. Superman looked great. I loved Wonder Woman's suit. And another thing, like when Barry touched the glass to break it, do you remember when that like turned into like? I absolutely love that. It was so like such a great attention to detail.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a question. I mean, it's kind of a spoiler, but not really. The movie is shot in 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's not the entire screen.
Yeah, so the ratio of the movie is a square box, basically, almost like old-fashioned TVs. So instead of black bars on the top and bottom, which we're very used to as the cinematic look, they're on the sides. At first, what were your thoughts on that?
Hated it.
Yeah, when I saw it first, I hated it. I eventually got accustomed to it, and then half through the movie, I started noticing it again, and I started hating it again.
Oh, okay. So I hated it at first. In all the trailers, it had it, and I was like, I swear to God, if the movie is like this, I'm going to be pissed. But my movie experience was at first, I was like, oh, okay, that's different. And then we got into it, and I didn't realize it. And then I was like, oh, shit, I'm not realizing it. That's like a big accomplishment, because at first I didn't think I could possibly overcome it. So it's a big accomplishment on the filmmakers. And then by the latter half of the movie, I actually kind of loved it, because I was like, wow, this really adds a different style to the movie. Like, it makes it very unique.
I also love, like, there has to be a word like that goes over love. Like the way it was broken into chapters.
Yes.
So smart. I want every superhero movie to do this.
Yeah.
I want every single superhero movie to do this.
Yeah.
Like, so, without giving too much, like when like a part would be over.
Do we want to just get into spoilers? We could just get into spoilers now.
Is it okay?
Yeah, let's get into spoilers.
So basically, like, if you have not seen the movie and want to see the movie, please click off now. Thank you for remaining open-minded, and we hope to see you next Wednesday with our new episode.
Yeah.
Bang. Okay.
Or just skip to thoughts on the guest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's so many. Go listen. Okay. Spoiler warning. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Okay. So what I absolutely loved was the way that it was broken into those different sections, and you got an idea for what those sections were going to be, right? Like, I love, like, even in books, like when you see a chapter that makes you think something's going to happen, or like if it brings you in a different direction and then subverges it, like, that was so good.
Part 1. Don't count on it, Batman. Like, that was just like, you know what it reminded me of? Don't the Injustice games have that?
Yeah.
It reminded me of the Injustice games, and it made me so, like...
I was into it.
I was like, whoa, like, I don't know why that grips me in. It makes me so excited. I'm like, what does Batman not have to count on?
Do you guys remember the other title cards at all?
Yeah, there was the one that we totally debated. It was like...
It had to do with the mother, right?
It was like... Heavenly Son and and Beautiful Mother or something. No, it was Beautiful Mother, Fortunate Son, something like that.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and we were like, shit, who's the beautiful mother and who's the fortunate son? And we ended up basically applying it to every character. We were like, oh, Batman could be the fortunate son, Flash, and Cyborg. But or Aquaman, and watching the movie, it was very interesting to find out who that
Cyborg character. I have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Literally, he was a computer in the first movie. Yeah. He's a computer that shot things.
He was a character in this one, like a real character.
He was great. Yeah. He was great. He was really, really great. The one issue I have with the entire movie, I have one issue. I don't like Batman in it, and I think
I agree.
It makes Batman. So the chronology is a little weird in relation to the comics, where he's a little bit too old in this movie.
They start at the end of his journey in the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is a weird place, because like the formation of the Justice League, like he is way before that in the comics. But he seems a little too emotional, and I think that is what happens at the end of later in his life. But the Batman I know and love is just the very objective, logical genius, billionaire, like that type of person. And I think in this, he seems a little not dumb, but weak.
Weak, absolutely. I agree. I think
he just shoots things, and he shouldn't kill people. So he shouldn't kill, but he's just shooting things the whole movie, instead of being the absolute genius that he is.
I absolutely agree. I have a couple issues. I love the movie, That doesn't mean it's flawless, but one of my issues is the Batman thing, and especially during the third act when they're fighting Steppenwolf and Flash is about to do the time travel running around thing. Batman's just shooting aliens, and seeing the superhero break through a disposable massive army of aliens is never that interesting. So I feel like they didn't make him useless or useful, although they could have made him useful. But I'll say what makes up for that is Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg.
I don't like Aquaman either.
I actually like that take, although it's not comically accurate. I like it. But Cyborg and the Flash make up for it because we've seen a good Batman before. So I can give them that. And Wonder Woman especially, I love in this.
Oh, Wonder Woman is done. So, and also like Henry Cavill is Superman.
Oh, Superman! Superman was way better than he's ever been in this one.
Like I got to give them some credit for casting. Like I look at Marvel and Harry Potter for perfect casting. It's just done so well.
Yeah.
And this, they're starting to get back with it. Like Christian Bale is Bruce Wayne to me a little bit. Like I see him as Bruce Wayne. I just don't see Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. I don't see him. Henry Cavill, I think, is Superman before he is Henry Cavill. Like I think it's great casting. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Perfect. Great.
Ray Fisher, Cyborg.
Yeah, he did well. He did really well as Cyborg. Not a huge fan on Flash or Aquaman. They're just very much a different spin on the character. Like I feel like the Flash, he takes the comic route, which I guess has to happen. Like he takes like Green Lantern's more like a comic character,
like a comedic.
Yeah. And like that's taken a little bit differently, which is fine. But there's like some things that just are my favorite. I don't love the lightning when he runs. I know some people love that. Yeah. And Aquaman is just like a surfer bro instead of like this regal king. But it's true. But like it's fine. Like I'm excited to see the development of it. It's definitely not a deal breaker, but it's not my favorite thing.
But so what I applaud Zack Snyder's Justice League though is like for allowing me to overcome that. Like Batman's not the best he could have been. I don't care. Like this movie's still fascinating. It's epic. It's mythological. You know what I mean? Like even Aquaman is a surfer bro. I didn't love that. I love the wise king of Aquaman, who's almost a little immoral at some points. You know what I mean? Like he has like he's very stern.
He's like a deep allegiance to Atlantis. And that just doesn't come through, which is fine.
Yeah, but I still somehow like this take. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a DC fan, so I don't know too much. But, I mean, the chronology of Aquaman kind of confused me because I've seen Aquaman. And when, like, they went into, like, the place where the king was.
It looks different.
It looks completely different. And I was like, that was, like, in the movie Aquaman, it was the first time he went in.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
So DC are compared to Marvel, they're not as much about continuity as like, oh, all these movies are interconnected and it makes a lot of sense. Like they have a lot of continuity issues. Like the worlds in their separate movies don't feel like the same world. So to me, as I was watching this, I was like, okay, forget about all the other movies. I think this kind of exists in a trilogy of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League, kind of Zack Snyder's trilogy. So I tried to forget about all of the other ones because it doesn't make sense. Like Wonder Woman 1984, which is the sequel to Wonder Woman set in 1984, she can fly, but she doesn't fly in this movie. You know, so there's
I don't
big
know if she can fly or not. Because I feel like she can in some comics and she can't in others.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a different adaptation.
Yeah, but I feel like DC can't decide that because she does. Remember in the scene when she says goodbye to Steve and then she throws her lasso on a plane and then she rips off of it and then she's like floating and then she flies. So I feel like they do have an issue there. But Wonder Woman in this movie made up for that movie. I didn't like that movie. I liked her first movie. I didn't like the second one. I loved her in this.
She's great.
Yeah, by the way, I loved her music as well. Whenever she came, there was like...
Her theme was
amazing.
It was like a choir, you know, like a very mystical, ancient, Middle Eastern choir. It was like super cool.
It was amazing.
It was done really well. They're really playing well into the Greek aspect of her character.
Yeah. Zack Snyder said, which I really, again, I have so much respect for this guy. He said that Marvel movies are great with the comedy heartfelt thing. They get it so right. A nice little light movie that is still heartfelt in the end. and he said, you can't replicate that. As at DC, we have to do something different. And so he wanted to explore the mythology, the Greek mythology that exists in the DC universe. And I feel like he did a really good job
Yeah, he did great.
of doing that.
Yeah, and I have some questions, first of all, about the movie, just I've been thinking about. So when Darkseid comes the first time, like in way before when he got like demolished.
Yeah.
So there was a scene where he was in Atlantis and he killed like the king as well.
That was a vision, right?
Was that a vision?
That was the vision.
That was the nightmare scene. I'm part of the nightmare
Yeah.
scenes.
Oh,
when
okay.
Cyborg was doing the thing and he told Flash no, or he told him go.
I forget.
Anyways, he was doing the Mother Box thing to resurrect Superman, and he got a vision of what would happen, like if they're about to do this.
Yeah.
And so it was like a vision of all the Justice League members dying, and Aquaman was killed by Darkseid with the Omega beams.
Gotcha. So that was completely different.
That was completely different from the opening scene,
All right, that's
or
cool.
not the opening scene, but the Greek kind of mythological scene. By the way, that scene was so badass.
Which one?
When it was young Darkseid, and it was like against Zeus and Ares and all the
And the lantern,
the lantern.
oh, so great.
Yeah.
Like they nail the mythology. Like
Yes.
every single scene of them on Themyscira, like the arrow, brilliant.
So
Right.
cool.
Like there's
To light
just-
the flame, the arrow, yeah.
it's like really really cool stuff.
I love Themyscira in this movie. I love what are they called? They're the group
The Amazons.
Amazons. Yes, I love the Amazons. They're like so badass. Like they're so cool. Like they're so advanced. I feel like maybe mentally, but like technologically, they're not advanced. I just feel like they're so dope.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I might take back what I said earlier. I feel like that sequence was pretty. Like that battle sequence was really good, but it meant nothing. Like,
I think it was just setting up Steppenwolf's powers.
yeah, but
Because think about it. Like if the first movie never happened, you would have no idea how powerful this
that's
guy is.
true. Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think one, it sets up Darkseid's revenge, his vengeance. This is the sole world that he's lost to, and so it's crazy that world holds the anti-life equation. So he is coming back at the end of the movie. He says he'll invade, and he's coming back with fury because this is the only sole world that he lost to. So I feel like that seeing that did.
No, I'm
mean
talking
a lot.
about when Steppenwolf gets out of the mother box the first time, like in the beginning of the movie when he gets out of the mother box and he fights the Amazons.
Oh, that's what
That
you meant.
scene. I thought
you
that
didn't
was
think?
that was a cool scene. Very, very well made. Very well done. I don't know. I felt it was.
Oh, I thought that was necessary to see because I feel like it'd be like, like then it'd be off screen and you just hear from a character like, oh, Steppenwolf got the first mother box.
And I think that's what was so bad of the first movie. It was so much telling and very little showing.
And it didn't even explain what was going on. The first movie isn't even a movie. Like you don't know why characters are doing things, you know? To the motivation thing I was saying earlier, that really changes this movie a lot for me is that Batman has an emotional connection for bringing together the Justice League. He feels grief and he feels saddened that he spent so much time trying to divide people by trying to kill Superman that he feels like he has to make up for his mistake of killing one of the only symbols of hope that existed in this world. And so he promised to Superman on his grave that he'd bring everybody together. And so he feels motivated by that, not only because of the conflict of, the galactic conflict of Steppenwolf coming to get the mother boxes and bring anti-life to Earth, but because...
Or discover anti-life.
Yeah, but because he made a promise to Superman.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing.
And like this movie, what it knocked out of the park is a good villain. I love seeing Steppenwolf.
Yes.
He looked great. I believed he was powerful.
Yeah.
But then that contrast when we finally fought Superman and you see Superman's strength and how insignificant he actually is, it was done perfectly.
This makes me want to watch it again because
I just want to see his scenes. Yeah.
I'm thinking of his armor and how it's fluid and like its own living thing and the spider that comes off of it. But Steppenwolf too, back to the character point that you made earlier, he has like character...
He has a motivation to invade, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he has a motivation. He has relationships with other characters and he has personality traits that don't exist at all in the first movie. Steppenwolf's whole character arc is seeking to please Darkseid for a mistake he made years ago of betraying. I don't remember specifically, but he betrayed Darkseid. They didn't explain it, but that they explained
They said like deliver
Yeah, like
50,000 worlds or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like he owes a debt to Darkseid, and so he's trying to make it up to him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool to see a character that's so badass have a vulnerable side.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it makes you think too, like, holy shit, Steppenwolf is just the servant.
And
Like-
he looks great. Like he looks good. Like
Yes, yeah.
he looks so much different.
He's
than the first movie.
he looks so stupid in the first movie.
Yeah.
But it makes you think, like, holy shit, he's the servant.
Mhm.
Like Darkseid must be like fucking crazy if this guy's the servant.
Mhm.
I think also what was great was also how, like, in the first movie they just kind of got Superman. They were just like, oh, let's do this, let's get him.
Oh,
And-
there was actual risk and stuff. Like
Yeah, there was
you felt-
actual risk.
Struggle. Yeah.
There was struggle, and there was a need for it.
Mhm.
The movie made you feel like there was a gaping hole. There was a actual key that you needed to open a door, and that key was Superman to fight these. Like
That's
it, you
good way to
felt,
put it.
yeah, you felt like you were in a drought, and you needed water to return. You needed Superman to fight these villains, and in the first movie, you didn't feel that. He just kind of came back.
I'm
And
not
so-
gonna lie. I didn't feel that.
Really?
You didn't
I
feel
think
that.
in the
I
first
did.
movie they were just like, we could use soups. Like,
Yeah.
that was really the way to put
Yeah,
it.
but then when you find out the reason they never came to Earth before is because of the
Yeah.
sheer power of Superman, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, when you hear him go like, no lanterns,
Yeah.
no Kryptonian, you're like, they've been planning this and now's the moment. And
Mhm.
to mitigate that, we need him back.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just makes you think like, holy crap.
Also, what the heck was Martian Manhunter's involvement?
that was
crazy.
that was crazy. That was exciting, but I also think it kind of took away from the emotion of the scene with Amy Adams and Martha Kent. Like I was like, oh, that's kind of really nice of her trying to be like, listen, Amy, like you have.
Amy, they renamed her
Oh,
Amy.
that's not her name in the movie. Listen, Amy Adams, we're filming a movie right now. Listen, Lois, like you haven't gone back to work since Superman died. Like it's time, like to get over this. I know it's my son, but it's time to get back into the world. But Martian Manhunter does it. Why?
I'm gonna say I like it. You know why? And I think this is gonna kind of click something for you. Martian Manhunter is an observer. You know, like his character is very observational.
Mhm.
So when you see him kind of looking back and not really manipulating, but organizing things to the general good,
Mhm.
you see him move Lois in the right direction to the point where she'll go to the Superman thing and see him, right? And remember, he's a telepath, so he can see her thoughts, right? Remember, he was like, I know how you feel, because he knows,
Oh, true.
right? And then at the end, when you see him talk to Batman, you see he's like, I'm here. Like he's like very observational and organizational in the sense that he's structuring things in the background. He's very like an overview of it all. He's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to this random lady who must be important. No, he if he can read their thoughts, he must like know what he has to do. So I think all of his work is gonna have a purpose, especially what he said to Batman at the end.
I feel like that is a good explanation, like that he wants to drive Lois in the right direction. I don't know why exactly he was there, but nonetheless, like I don't care that much because it's good fan service, you know? Like I'm so excited to even see him in a live action movie.
And he looked good.
And he looked good. I'm so excited to even just see him and be like, wow, he's here, you know?
Yeah.
I need me a Green Lantern. I want Hal Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Ryan Reynolds. I want more Martian Manhunter. What else? What other heroes do I want? I want Captain Marvel, but I don't know if they're going to bring that movie into it.
Shazam, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, Captain Marvel to me because I'm an OG. Before they got sued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just excited for the rest of it. This really got me excited to
Yeah.
see the rest of the DC universe because
Yeah.
the characters are so much better than Marvel ones. I'm sorry. They are better. They are better characters, but they're not done well in the movies.
I'd say their characters are probably equally good. Like they have some really good ones. They both have some really bad ones. But DC has so much potential, almost easier than Marvel, that like it's surprising that they fucked it up, you know? Like Tony Stark, Iron Man, was a B-list hero.
Yeah, he was terrible in the comics.
He was terrible in the comics. Batman was loved all throughout time. Not in the very beginning, because he was very different in the very
And
beginning.
I say Iron Man is probably now the most loved superhero of all time.
Absolutely. I'd say that too.
It's crazy that they did that.
So it's really refreshing to see like them using their potential through this, I think.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, I didn't feel. I mean, again, I'm coming at this from a non-DC perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love Batman in this movie. I mean, I've never loved Batman. But
Oh, well, you haven't seen The Dark Knight.
yeah. So I don't know.
That's why everyone loves Batman.
Yeah, that's why. Christopher Nolan is the sole reason.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, again,
You're like, shut up.
yeah, I don't really understand that. But yeah, I'm wondering, what did you guys think of the epilogue? I mean, it was like
Yeah.
a long one,
Mm-hmm.
but what
My soul-
individual-
I was so in love with the movie that when that came on, it felt like a fever dream. So I was just like, I'm just gonna pretend it's not real for now.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with the movie, and that's why I call it not flawless. I give it a 7.5. If it didn't have the epilogue necessarily, I'd probably give it a 8, probably. The thing is, the epilogue just goes on way too long. Like, it just constantly brings up new angles to the movie. It constantly brings up, like, mini trailers, I'd call them almost, for different movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke. Oh, there's a future there. That's so exciting. There's a scene with the Nightmare sequence. Oh, there's a future with Nightmare and Darkseid ruling the world and Superman being bad. Oh, that's so fascinating. And then the third one was Martian Manhunter. Oh, there's a future with Martian Manhunter. Like, stop thinking about the future that much. It distracts me from what we just watched.
I think the Lex Luthor scene with Deathstroke, great setup for the future. I really did enjoy that scene because that was setting up the Injustice League, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare sequence, crazy. Everything was crazy in that scene. It was really weird.
Mm-hmm.
It was just weird, like, felt like an acid trip.
Yeah.
And I thought Martian Manhunter was done well.
Yeah.
But the Nightmare, I was so in love with the movie by then that you could have put like a TikTok compilation. I would have been like fine with it.
Me too, yeah. So actually that's the one movie they shot, or the one scene they shot additionally after. That Zack Snyder had all this time. He wanted to film that scene. So the Nightmare sequence was the only reshot thing. I think it's really fun to see, but I think it doesn't have a place in the movie. I knew the Nightmare sequence was going to be in it, so I was under the impression the whole movie that they were going to lose and the ending was going to be in that Nightmare universe.
Ah.
So I was a little disappointed at first because I was like, what the fuck? They just won. Like, Darkseid was supposed to come to Earth and destroy everything because I know the Nightmare sequence was going to be in it. But that's kind of a fault at me to expect that. But now, days later, I really do appreciate the movie and it's all.
Also, the whole dynamic of Darkseid when he wasn't even in the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
How intimidating was it, too, when he was at the portal, like, staring at them, and the Justice League was there, and Wonder Woman fucking beheads Steppenwolf, like, that was crazy, and then he just stomps on his head and crushes it and just looks at them and walks away.
Yeah. Oh my god, I forgot about that. He crushes his head.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't give a fuck about this guy.
Yeah.
He's like, he's one of like the. I equated Steppenwolf throughout the movie as a good mix between. Who's the guy who goes to Earth with the telekinesis guy in Endgame?
I don't know what his name.
Or
I know
not
you're talking
Endgame,
about.
in Infinity War.
Ebony Maw. He's the one with
Not
the
Ebony
nose.
Maw, the other one. The one who came with him, the big guy, strong guy.
Oh, the big one. I don't know his
Do you know
name, but I know.
He felt like a mix of him and Ronan the Accuser.
Yeah, I feel that a bit. To me...
Because like Ronan has like the passion and he has like the kind of strength, but like it's so funny because like he's so inconsequential compared to Darkseid.
Yeah, to me, he's very much emotionally, and the way he comes off as a mix of Darth Vader and Darth Maul. So first Darth Vader, in the sense that he's the servant. He is like super badass. Like you cannot believe.
I would
someone...
say Desaad is more Darth Vader. He's like an Inquisitor.
Oh, Desaad. Yeah. I don't know much about Desaad.
He's like the chief torturer.
Oh, okay. But like the way he comes off as badass, like you don't think in any way can he have a master, and he does have a master above him. And I think he's like Darth Maul in the sense of like trying to please that master. You know what I mean? That's one of his sole goals.
I say he's very Inquisitor-like.
Yes, he's very Inquisitor-like. Like the Inquisitors, Niral are.
I'm getting none of
watch
it.
Star Wars.
Just watch
Yeah.
Star Wars.
I'm getting none of it.
Just watch Star Wars and then listen to this episode.
Yeah. So the Inquisitors were people with lightsabers who Darth Vader sent out to kill Jedi, basically. But back to what we were talking about, the ending, I felt it just dragged on. I was like, seriously, like the movie ended 20 minutes ago. Like,
Yeah,
did we feel the same way?
Yeah, I agree.
definitely.
Yeah, but overall, like, amazing experience, I think. Wasn't disappointed. Loads of fun.
Do you know what the reviews on that are like already?
Yeah,
Are
so
they good?
the reviews are 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's like 80 something on IMDb. It's an 8.5 on IMDb. As of now, Rotten Tomatoes for the audience, it's 96%.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I trust that less because audience members are going to love this nonetheless because Zack Snyder has die-hard fans.
Yeah.
So I trust the critics more, and I give it something around 7.5. What do you guys give it?
I'm gonna give it an 85.
I'd give it a 70, just because.
Okay.
I think it's just my attachment to DC.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Yeah, it was amazing. Oh, and the chapter thing too. I mean, I know we already talked about that, but like,
It can't be understated how good that was.
yeah, it felt like a mythological book, like an epic saga that I was reading. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was really nice. And at the end of the movie, it said for
And
Amber.
it breaks up. It's so long that it breaks it up well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very digestible.
And the end of the movie, the title read for Amber, which is his daughter, which was really nice.
Yeah. I wonder who that was. I didn't know who that was.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Oh, okay. This is a great conversation. I think we move to thoughts on the cast.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the cast. Thoughts on the cast. Thoughts on the cast.
So, what did you guys think about my topic about violence, video games, and the general culture of that?
So what like kind of struck out to me immediately was separating like video game content from video game culture, right? Like the way people talk to each other and the way that kind of culture is allowed to persist. I think is a lot more dangerous than the way video games orient themselves in terms of content. And I think like we should just kind of recognize that more and make a more tangible effort to change that culture. And like who can purchase video games to maintain like kind of an appropriate timeline for human development mixed with violence.
Yeah, Niral, you kind of helped me see the other side a lot more in the sense that like these violent video games promote aggressiveness, which is already promoted because of the culture of most video game communities. So like, why would we expose our kids to that aggressive situation? You know, why would we expose them to an environment that promotes and fosters aggression?
Yeah, I kind of took that away from you as well. When you gave the analogy of a perfect storm, that was a great analogy that I took away. That, yeah, we are these 10-year-olds or whatever. They're being put in a storm where the culture is bad, the content's also promoting them to be aggressive. It's a storm that we should take action against.
Yeah, and I think it's key that like we all don't want to eradicate violent video games. I guess we're all kind of on. We've came to a consensus a bit. I think that it's about at what age do we start bringing it onto kids?
Of course.
Okay, so what do you guys think about my topic of qualifying happiness and success?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved hearing everybody's kind of different opinions and opinions that were different from mine and different perspectives. And I love seeing the similarities of all of them. I feel like a lot of our definitions of happiness and success, both the callers and us three, are rooted in both what we want and rooted in love. And I feel like that it's just really nice to see that.
Yeah, I agree. I think when we were prefaced the conversation with the previous generations and what they kind of defined happiness and success as, it was kind of a great contrast to see us being like a lot more emotional about it, being like, okay, we need to be happy, and happy's interconnection with success.
Yeah, I really liked it. Like, it's just so cool seeing that diversity, and I definitely want to incorporate something like this into our episodes again. Maybe I think I would like to include different generations just to confirm what we were saying about how this changes with generational differences and cultures and stuff like that. But I really liked what Luke said about like having time to do what you like, and what Harsha said about like checking off the boxes and stuff like that. I just thought they were great comments and are pretty revealing.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about my topic and Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Yeah, a very interesting movie. I thought, again, kind of like I was just listening for most of the topic, just kind of seeing what you guys were saying, because I'm not a very big DC fan. So I think you guys really, I wouldn't say I'm gonna watch DC films now, but it was still very interesting to think about.
Yeah, I definitely like it put things into perspective because I think my immediate reaction was like absolutely love, like just seeing something that I'm passionate about being almost perfected in a way. But like now that I'm thinking about like Batman's character and stuff like that, like I'm taking a little bit more with a grain of salt. But I think it was still just such a great movie, and I'm really excited for the future of the films.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I think it taught me 2 lessons. One is just never take advantage of people, especially if they're in a tough place, you know? And just because what you want is in contrast to what they want, that doesn't mean you should take advantage of the situation that they're in and to get what you want. And 2, it kind of taught me about like having a second chance, because as like Warner Brothers, like literally unbelievable what they did to Zack Snyder. But I still give them some props for actually backtracking. The reason I don't give them like amazing props is because they never should have done it in the first place. So like they're doing the thing they should do. But I give them some props for kind of pointing the mirror at themselves and seeing their own faults and being like, okay, we messed up. Here's Zack Snyder's vision. Like here it is for the fans. Like in a way, it's almost like an apology without being apologetic. So it kind of reinforced that, like, you know, you can go back on and say sorry for bad things that you've done. So
yeah. And one final thing, it taught me that every single movie has to be divided into parts with titles. Every single movie in the history of mankind.
Every single movie.
Perfect.
And it taught me, too, that Zack Snyder better be making a sequel. It's unlikely that Warner Brothers will allow him to, because
I think after the perception of this movie, there might be a chance.
There might be a chance if fans keep pushing, because fans got this made. 2 years ago, it was like 0% chance that Zack's vision would be a thing, and it is now. So maybe they'll give him back kind of the shoulders of the universe so he can, you know, start writing and stuff like that.
Well, that's all for today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. You can find me on Instagram at jake.lorenz, and you can find Cole on Instagram at cole.2.kelly. And you can find Niral nowhere because he doesn't have a life. Thanks, everyone. We hope to see you next week, and remember to always keep an open mind.
In a world that's too close